Welcome back to the Mind Your Self Defense YouTube channel. Today is Mindset Monday. So today we're going to talk about self-protection versus self-defense mindset. So I'm going to tell you guys a little story about my business. When I first started this business in 2018, my original business name was Rise Above Self-Protection. And what happened was I started advertising, and for months I wasn't getting any hits, any responses. Nobody was responding, no customers at all. And I was talking to a buddy of mine who was also in the self-defense business, and I told him what happened, and he goes, "You're using a term that no one knows. Unless you're in the business, they don't know the term." He goes, "Change it to Rise Above Self-Defense, and I'm pretty sure you'll start getting customers." So I took his advice and I did that. And sure enough, I started getting customers. And the reason being is because no one knows what self-protection means. Everybody knows what self-defense means, even though it doesn't mean what we think it means, but people understand the term. So the term self-defense is just a legal term. It's a legal defense. That's it. It's not a style. It's nothing else. It is just a legal term. And sometimes you could claim self-defense, sometimes you cannot. There's a lot of different variables that constitute if you can claim self-defense in a violent encounter. That's a whole different episode. I will cover that, but that's not today. You have to understand, self-defense means that you are reacting to something that's already happening. So it's a very reactive mindset, where self-protection means that you are trying to prevent something from happening, or you're planning ahead of time before something happens. It's a proactive. And that's what we want to be. We want to be proactive. We don't want to get into a situation where someone's hitting us or someone's attacking us when we could have done something to avoid it. That's why we want to be proactive with a self-protection mindset. And then if something does happen, we use our skills to help us survive the self-defense aspect of it. The best fight that you'll ever be in is the one that you're not in. That's what we want to do. We want to avoid fighting. People who know how to fight, people who truly know how to fight, don't want to fight. It's that simple. When you have people who are looking for fights, or they have egos and they posture and all this stuff, most of the time it's a front. They are doing that because their ego is bigger than them, or whatever the case may be. Don't get me wrong, there are people that posture and have egos and all that stuff that can back it up. But for the most part, I would say most people are not capable of backing it up. Alright? When we get into episodes on the language of violence and stuff like that, I'll explain all that stuff. So what is self-protection mindset? Self-protection mindset is avoiding putting ourselves in situations where they could be bad for us. All right, you guys have probably heard the term situational awareness. So situational awareness, what is that? Situational awareness is you actually knowing what's going on around you in your current situation. Situational awareness changes by the second, especially if you are walking or driving. Your environment is changing every step you take. So you have to be aware of what's going on in your immediate vicinity. So you have to be in the now. You can't be on your phone and being distracted. You have to be paying attention to what's going on around you at that current time. Same thing when you're driving. When you're driving, you should be scanning for the cars in front of you, the cars behind you, and the cars to your left and your right. You should make sure you have enough braking space between you and the car in front of you, and that kind of stuff. It's just paying attention to the situation. Same thing when you are walking or inside a building or inside a restaurant or whatever the case may be. You need to be able to gather information, know where the exits are. If you're one of those people that think tactically, or I have to sit in the back of the restaurant with my back against the wall, I understand that, but sometimes you're not able to do that, especially unless you're looking for a table at a restaurant specifically in that location. It could take you a couple of hours to sit down. But if you know situational awareness, where I'm in the middle of the restaurant, my back's not towards the wall, it's not a bad spot. I know where the kitchen's at, I know where the restroom's at, I know where the exits are. You could still sit and have a 30-minute wait to get a table, as opposed to wait 2 hours to the tactical table, and still enjoy your food, and you still have a pretty good idea of what to do if something happens. There are two mindsets. There's the mindset, sit in the back of the room, back against the wall. And then there's the other mindset of sit as close to the door as possible so you could get out quicker. Most of the time, when an active shooter or someone comes in, they walk into the establishment first and then they open fire. If they walk into the establishment and you're sitting closest to the door, they're going to walk right by you. So that gives you the time to get out if you're paying attention to what's going on. Where the person who's sitting tactically in the back, they're going to be stuck in that sense. But if the person sitting in the back pays attention to the person coming through the door, then they could get the advantage of either getting cover or going out through the back door to the kitchen. There's different mindsets. Situational awareness is situational awareness. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in the back of the restaurant or in the front of the restaurant or in the middle of the restaurant. What you're doing is you're giving yourself time if you're sitting in the back of the restaurant. But that only works if you're paying attention. If you're not paying attention, then it doesn't matter where you sit. So the thing is just have the mindset where you are focusing on what's going on around you. So you could be at a restaurant, BSing with your friends or your family or whatever, and you could still see what's going on around you. All right. Most environments have a dress code. What I mean by that is if you're at the beach and everybody's wearing beach clothes, and then you see someone rolling up in jeans with boots and a long trench coat, that should send up a red flag in your eyes because they're standing out. Why are they standing out? It doesn't mean that you need to go and attack them or anything. It just means you need to pay a little more extra attention to them. It's like, why are they wearing what they're wearing in this environment? Same thing if you're going to a grocery store. If you guys live in the United States, then you guys know about homeless people, and we don't know what's going through their mind. We don't know if they have mental issues. We don't know if they're seeing stuff that we don't see. We don't know any of that kind of stuff. So we have to pay attention to them. It doesn't mean we have to go and assault them or nothing. It just means that we need to pay a little more attention to them. The reason why we want situational awareness is because it gives us time. It gives us time to react. Reaction is always slower than action. So in a self-defense situation, if someone hits me, If that homeless person comes up to me and punches me, I am now in a self-defense mindset because something already happened to me. Whereas if I'm walking out of the grocery store and I see that homeless person coming towards me, I could put my shopping cart between me and them. I could look at them and maybe tell them, hey, what's going on? Do you need help or whatever? And disarm them. It could be many scenarios. But what I'm doing is I could create distance. I could also turn around and walk back into the grocery store. So it's just having that mindset to be proactive instead of reactive. Because like I said, action is going to beat reaction every time. So having a proactive mindset and situational awareness gives us time to process information, what's going on. And it helps us make decisions that can potentially save our lives. Where if we don't have any kind of information, again, let's use this scenario. We walked into the restaurant and we sat down and we're done. That's it. We're BSing with our friends and family and we're not paying attention to anything. And someone just come in that looks out of place. We should not be scrambling in our head to find the exits, or at least where the kitchen is, and all that stuff when stress and adrenaline kick in. Because when you start getting nervous, you're not going to think straight. You're going to start getting stress, and adrenaline is going to affect the way you think. If you walk into the restaurant as you're being seated, looking around for the exit signs and knowing where the kitchen is. The reason why I keep saying the kitchen is because you could go through the kitchen. There's a back door to every kitchen because that's how they bring in the supplies. So you can go through the kitchen. The object is not to hide. The object is to get out. So I'm not saying you can't hide. It's just we want to be safe and get out of that whole environment altogether. So the easiest way to do it, if you can't go through the front door, is to go through the back door, which is normally through the kitchen. Right? So you guys want to know at least where the exit signs are. If you're in a movie theater or whatever, you want to know where the exit signs are. All right? Any building, you should know at least 2 other exits than the one you came through. All right? Like I said, people have a lot more different kind of mindsets on that, but for a rule of thumb is you should at least know minimum 1 extra exit than the door that you came through. Okay? But a lot of people follow that, and I follow this rule too, is that 1 is none, 2 is 1. So you have a backup to your backup. If you know 1 exit besides the one you came into, what happens if that exit is blocked? Now you have 0 exits. Where if you know 2 exits and you lose 1 of those, 2 on top of the one you came in, so 3, right? And you lose 2 of those, you still have another option. That's the way I look at it. You can look at it however you want. My job is just to have you guys develop a self-protection mindset where we are proactive and we only use our reactive or our self-defense if something's going to happen to us. Okay, and let's use that scenario again with the homeless person. So I walked outside. They're coming towards me. I have the shopping cart between me and the person, and they take a swing at me. Okay, so now I could choose, am I going to engage or am I going to disengage? So am I going to fight or am I going to flee? If it's me by myself, I have no problem running away from a fight. I don't have my ego that's going to say, oh, why didn't you fight the person? I don't care about that crap. I care about my safety. Now, if I'm there with my wife or my kids, that's a different story. I can't flee and let them fend for themselves. But then I had to make a decision. But I gave myself that time to make the decision because I seen them coming and I put the shopping cart between us. Now, if that person moves the shopping cart out of the way to get to me, then I'm going to have to engage. But if the shopping cart's there and they pay no attention to it and they walk away, then hey, we're good. It's just like I want you guys to understand that having a self-protective mindset means that we are proactive, and self-defense is a reactive. So we want to use our proactive mindset and have the skills to back up our self-defense if we get to that situation. All right? So I want you guys to remember that only you can unleash your inner badass.